Two Supreme Court justices just went at it in public over whether the court is basically letting the Trump administration skip the line. With Justice Kavanaugh saying that they don't have a choice, Justice Jackson saying that they're the ones who created the problem, and the numbers, they actually appear to back her up. Right? The Trump administration has won 80% of the emergency cases that it's brought to court, which is a crazy number. But also first, let's get into some background, because since coming back into office, the Trump administration has flooded the Supreme Court with emergency applications. These quick requests to greenlight policies while lower courts are still debating whether they're even legal. So we're talking immigration, federal funding, banning trans athletes, firing independent agency leaders, things like that. And with that, you've had a whole chunk of the Trump agenda just fast-tracked. And how it works is, on the court's normal docket, justices choose which cases to take, they receive extensive written briefs, hear oral arguments, deliberate for months, and then they publish an opinion laying out how each justice voted and why. But on the emergency docket, what people call the shadow docket, you have cases typically decided without oral argument, without full briefing, sometimes in a matter of days. No vote count, no reasoning published, just a decision. And the Supreme Court's conservative supermajority, they've allowed many of Trump's policies to just take effect through this process, even as lower courts are still actively questioning their legality. And again, the Trump administration has won 80% of its shadow docket cases. That is leaps and bounds beyond what the Biden administration ever achieved. And understandably, it's drawn straight up contempt from Democrats who are accusing the conservative majority of loading the scale in Trump's favor. And all of that, it brought us to yesterday, where you had Justice Brett Kavanaugh and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson making a rare public appearance together at an annual lecture honoring former federal judge Thomas Flannery. Right? And they gave us a back and forth exactly on this issue, or as heated, I guess, as Supreme Court justices can get, with Kavanaugh making the case that the uptick in emergency applications isn't a Trump exclusive thing. Kavanaugh arguing that the gridlock in Congress has led to more executive orders from presidents across the board, which leads to more court challenges, saying there's a more aggressive executive branch over the years because it's difficult to get legislation through Congress. And with this, he pointed specifically to the Biden administration's emergency request to maintain access to the abortion drug mifepristone while a lower court challenge played out. We're saying that that is proof that this is not one-sided, but you had Jackson really not having that. Jackson said it's very different. Biden was asking the court to maintain the status quo, keep access to something that already existed. Whereas Trump, he's doing something fundamentally different, saying what is happening now is the administration is making new policy, but then insisting that the new policy take effect immediately before a challenge about its lawfulness is determined. But also Jackson didn't just blame Trump, she put it on the court itself, specifically the conservative justices like Kavanaugh who keep agreeing to hear these emergency motions. And her argument is that by signaling a willingness to take these cases before they work through the lower courts, the conservative majority has just emboldened the administration to keep doing it. She called it a warped kind of proceeding, and the lack of written opinions and shadow docket decisions, it's a big part of what bothers her. Because when she writes a dissent on a normal case, she's speaking to the public, saying, when I am writing a dissent, I am speaking to the American people, probably more so than anybody. The hope is that at some point in the future, there will be enough people who are agreeing with the way I am viewing this particular issue. With her then adding that this whole approach to the shadow docket, it's not serving the court and it's not serving our country well at this point. Well, Kavanaugh, to his credit, he didn't entirely disagree. Instead, he said that the speed at which they have to respond to these emergency cases is frustrating, saying none of us enjoys this, but then he also said he doesn't feel the court has a choice. Which, hey, this is just my opinion. That's just words. Right? His actions are that of someone being complicit, and he can kind of complain about it, but he's still doing what he's doing. With all this, while obviously a big part of the question is, well, what is going to happen for the rest of Trump's term? I think having a longer vision on this, asking the question of what is the court system going to look like at the end of Trump's second term, that might be the bigger thing. Right? Because what happens if and when you get a Democratic president in there who looks at the Trump playbook, looks at how they've handled things and go, oh, okay, so that's what we're allowed to do. Because unfortunately, it feels like things have been used, abused, and broken to such a degree that if someone goes in there that's not a Republican and they try and do something that is like old school normal, they're not gonna be able to accomplish anything, and the people that voted them in are going to resent them. And while I think that a lot of people, they crave some normalcy, the path back to normal probably involves a lot of non-normal things, at least based off of recent historic precedent. Though again, this is gonna be a long-standing question, not even maybe the next 4 to 10 years, because there is a conservative supermajority there right now.